Hey friends. So I did a nice long meditation this morning, which is something that I haven't done in a while. I don't always get the opportunity to. And I had a kind of a cool experience, which is this happens to me or has happened to me in phases when I'm meditating really regularly. It sort of shows up as a regular experience, but it hadn't happened in a while, and basically there's a thing that happens when I am. So one of the meditation techniques that I do, and I'm almost loath to call it a technique because it was just kind of what I started doing at some point. No one ever taught me this meditation. I just kind of started doing it, and then I joined a meditation center for a couple of years, and I could tell that they were kind of doing the same thing, although they also never really explicitly explained what the meditation technique was. But basically the technique is I direct my attention towards consciousness itself, or the experience of subjectivity itself. In other words, I attempt to see or to become one with the experience of being consciousness, being the outward looking, being the sense of I that is outward looking, the sense of perception that perceives everything. Now, this is not really possible. I mean, that it is possible to connect with that. It's not possible to see it. Subjectivity itself can't be seen. So in terms of like directing attention at it, there's a bit of sleight of hand going on, because what I'm really doing is I'm trying to relax into it enough or settle into it in a way that I get an impression of being the subject. Because anybody who's done some meditation and worked with looking at layers of conditioning knows that everything we think is ourself is actually a layer of conditioning. And all of those layers ultimately peel away. And the process of spiritual practice, as I understand it and practice it, is to gradually disidentify from more and more and more of those layers, so that my sense of identity becomes more and more one with overall consciousness itself, subjectivity itself, with unity consciousness. So that's the journey. That's the process, is letting go of increasing layers of what I think I am, and what the constructs of my mind, the constructs of my psyche, my body, my emotions, and becoming more and more identified with and one with consciousness itself. So anyway, now I've told you my meditation technique, but the experience I had this morning was I had some mind stuff going for the first 30 minutes maybe, and then at some point I settled into, it was like a ringing voice in my head that said, this is all there is. And it was like, all of a sudden, the mind stuff like peeled back a layer, and I was back here, and the stuff of the mind, the noise of the mind was kind of still happening, but it was just a little bit of a layer removed, and I felt a rootedness, or just a kind of stability in the sense of simply being conscious, simply being present. And like I said, that's an experience I've had before, and when I'm meditating regularly, surprise, surprise, it happens more regularly. But it's been a little while since I had a nice deep meditation like that, so it was a cool thing to kind of come back to. And what it reminds me of is just how simple it is to be present. We spend so and how simple it is to be joyful, because from that space, from that place of just simple kind of, I hesitate to call it pure consciousness, but like more pure consciousness. The baseline feeling is joy. And even from that, even as I had that impression, had that experience, and kind of like had these waves of that, it was like that feeling would kind of, or that sensation, or that perception would kind of become more intense, and then kind of become less intense, and my mind would start to go again. And watching that happen, reminded me how simple it is to find that joy. And then as I watched my mind try to step in and do its thing, I felt this kind of like the tug between the joy that is always already available, always already happening. I'm always already experiencing it. That's the crazy thing, is like I'm already experiencing. No one in the universe is not experiencing the background radiation of joy that is the foundation of consciousness. We just don't always tune into it. We just don't always know that we're experiencing it. Versus the joy or the satisfaction that the mind craves. And the mind is constantly trying to do something to get that joy, and it wants the experience of joy to look and feel a certain way. And if you get a little taste of this one over here, everybody's got a taste of this one, then you can start to feel, where am I? How am I going about trying to find joy? Am I going about trying to find joy by letting go of everything in the mind and almost like just drinking in what is already inherent in my existence? Or am I going to go out there and chase something? Am I going to go out there and am I going to somehow in the world try to produce that feeling? Which it's not that events in the world and accomplishments in the world don't produce joy. They just don't produce infinite joy. They always produce temporary joy. Whereas this is an infinite reservoir. It's not going anywhere. It's always full. It's always flowing. There's no scarcity over here. Over here we got all kinds of scarcity. Competition, accomplishment, right? Achievement. So it was just really kind of nice to have that experience, and then to watch my mind do its thing, and kind of like, and it's like, how long am I going to meditate? Well, I had a nice long morning. My daughter is just waking up now. Oh. Anyway, I didn't know how long I was going to get, so it's like, well, how long am I going to sit here? And then you watch. I feel impulses like the mind wants to go do something. The mind wants to go start my day, do a thing, and luckily I had the time. She wasn't awake. I didn't have really anything I had to do, so it was like, what if I just stay here a little longer? Oh, right. This is all there is. It's like the anti-addiction. That space is the opposite of addiction. It's letting go of all addiction. Because ultimately, what a spiritual teacher will tell you is that all craving, all that reaching and trying to achieve, accomplish, do, produce a feeling, produce a result, it's all an addiction. We are addicted to the world. And the deep, deep, sort of profound practice is, can we let that go and not be addicted? And it's as in my experience, it is an ongoing practice. It never really ends. I mean, I get the sense that some people have kind of like done the job. They're not hooked anymore. But that is a high level of practice. That is a deep, profound accomplishment. For most of us, there's going to be some work involved. There's going to be a tension there between our capacity to simply be in that infinite reservoir and our desire to get, to have, to produce, to do, to make, to feel, to create, whatever it is. So, it was nice this morning to receive that sense, and then to be reminded of kind of what space it holds in my being, because I have access to it anytime. I don't have to like get up off the meditation cushion, walk into the kitchen, and start becoming addicted again. I can. Sometimes I do. But that's not required. We can live in that space every single moment. It's an infinite reservoir that is never exhausted. But can we discipline our mind? Can we discipline, not even our mind, can we discipline our soul, our self, to have that much poise and to have a boundary? It's almost like boundarying our mind, not letting our mind convince us that the powerful patterns that it's addicted to running are actually our reality, or that they're in some way the only way to a deep and abiding joy, when actually they are the opposite of that. They are the addiction that's probably deflecting the experience of infinite, boundless, causeless joy. So that was my morning meditation experience. Thought I would share it. I hope it is of some value to you. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. I will see you on the next one of these.